All right, Heather, A through Z.
I'm going to go with W.
W.
Yes.
Yeah, I ain't got no shit for no W's. Should I have something for a W?
I mean, I know that WrestleMania just happened.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Nice.
That's fair. That's fair.
And it was tight. WrestleMania was awesome.
You know, I want to come at you. This is more geared towards Jastin, I guess, but Heather, you can have an opinion on it if you want. But there was one particular performance at WrestleMania that I think deserves a shout out. And I also think this person deserves a raise. I don't know how much money this person makes, but they should make more money than they do. Guaranteed, automatically. And that is Samantha Irvin.
Oh, yeah.
She is the
Totally
ring
agree.
announcer for the WWE. And she fucking killed it this weekend. She especially killed it
That's cool.
at the end of announcing the winner of the main event of night 2. And she did that by actually like being so overjoyed that she was like crying a little bit whilst she
Aw.
was making the announcement. And it kind of just like, I know technically in that like that type of field or whatever, that'd be considered, I guess, technically unprofessional. But I think if you actually listen to it and heard it, all it does is add to the moment. Like in every way, at no point does it technically, like it doesn't detract from it at all. It adds to it. You know, it added to the story elements. It added to it. It just made it a bigger moment. It was fantastic. And then the
Now,
next
who
night,
actually won?
that would be Cody Rhodes, the American
Okay.
Nightmare Cody Rhodes. And then the next night he was doing like his little thing and like had her announce it again. Well, she also knocked it out of the park again then too, but still like, no, I just wanted to give her a shout out because she did such a fantastic fucking job.
That's cool.
Yeah. And she's getting a lot of attention, really just for WrestleMania. But man, I've been singing her praises just for a long time. Even watching the build up to WrestleMania, because the interesting thing about Samantha and what she does different from other people is it's not even just all that emotion, but also when she announces certain people, she announces it kind of based on their personalities and sort of based on kind of the persona of the person coming out. So like sometimes she'll announce deeper when the person is a big, like imposing type of person. She may go deeper with her voice on the announcement. But there's a woman that wrestles in WWE named Chelsea Green, and she's really a bratty, whiny, kind of spoiled kind of character like that, you know. And whenever she comes out, she announces her, but she does it in kind of a whiny, kind of bratty voice when she announces her, you know. And then there's another, and last one I'll say is there's another guy that comes out, and you know, he's real, his name's Ludwig Kaiser. And you know, he comes out and he's real like, you know, he's real proper and he's always so elegant and he's a bad guy, but he has his hand behind his back and he's always like, you know, perfect posture. And he's always talking about how, you know, he runs with another guy named Gunther and they're always talking about how the ring is sacred and all of this stuff. So when she announces him, she kind of does it with the, you know, Ludwig Kaiser, you know, she kind of does it kind of in more of an elegant way, because that's what he exudes. And that's what I really love about her. She has found a way to kind of change the game when it comes to announcing. She's not just up there announcing names and doing that well. She has really added some personality to it. And I love that, because wrestling is all about personality. So it's crazy that it took this long for us to think, why can't the announcing kind of have some personality as well? So I'm glad that she's able to do that, and I'm glad that they're allowing to do that. I'm glad that somebody back there is hearing that and looking at that and thinking, you know what, this works for what we're trying to do.
Well, part of it is because, like, for a long time, when it comes to announcing, especially that type of thing, outside of like Michael Buffer and Bruce Buffer, it's meant to be just a matter of fact. This is the information.
Yeah.
This is this.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why I said that some people might consider the way she does it unprofessional, because that's just the way it was done for so long. And I agree with you, Jastin. Kudos to whoever's letting her be her, because in what universe is anybody talking about the fucking ring announcer the day after WrestleMania?
Yeah, exactly.
And I have
What's
not
her name?
heard.
Samantha Irvin?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's engaged to Ricochet, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When they get married, he's going to be Mr. Samantha Irvin.
She's adorable. Yeah. Okay.
And I love Ricochet too. I mean, like, that's the other thing too. I love them as a couple, because, I mean, I've loved Ricochet since the Prince Puma days. And it's just fantastic. And I also love it when she watches him have a match, because he had one, I want to say, was it on SmackDown? Anyway, that he did something, and he was doing one of his like crazy Ricochet things, you know, a typical Ricochet event, because that's all he does is crazy Ricochet things. And right before he does it, he turns to her and says, "I'm sorry," and then does it. And it's fantastic. It just, that element too adds to it. And it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. And they're always showing videos of her. She reacts to the matches. You know, she's reacting when somebody gets hit hard. She'll, or when something happens crazy or kind of exciting, you know, there's a camera on her. Somebody captures her reacting. And I know that maybe there's an old school mentality of, well, kind of like what you said, Sterling, announcer's supposed to be matter of fact. You know, why would she be reacting? Why is she doing all of this? Is she bringing too much attention to herself and taking away from the match, et cetera, et cetera? You know, you've got people, I've heard so many differing opinions, but in my opinion, like, if this is supposed to be us like simulating a sport, and it's supposed to be like, and you want people to be invested in what's happening and to sort of feel what's happening, if anybody ringside is just acting like nothing is happening, or that they don't care, or what's happening doesn't matter, that might take away from the suspension of disbelief more than somebody there going, "Oh, dang, that was a good hit." Or like, if you see the announcer reacting to the match, you know, a fan might look at that and go, "Well, damn, I guess it's okay that I'm into this, because the ring announcer is into it too." You know, the announcers are into it too. The people ringside are into it too. You know, I think like sometimes that can help with the suspension of disbelief of wrestling more than it hurts it. You know, if she was just sitting there acting a matter of fact, looking at a watch or whatever, while these guys are wrestling, it's like it's no big deal, that could have an adverse effect, I think. So I like her reacting to things.
To me, all it does is enhance what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, she probably has seen more big wrestling moves in person than any non-wrestler out there. And if she can still react to stuff, it adds to it. You know, like I said, her having an emotional reaction to Cody Rhodes winning added to that moment. Because it's like, you know, you see all the people in the ring being emotional and all this other stuff. And it's like the fact that it carries over to these other people, it adds to it. It makes it feel bigger. Like, and and if you're a fan, I would see where that would add to like making you feel okay to having that type of reaction. You know, if you're a fan and you're like, holy shit, like that's a big moment. And like, you know, I'm not saying that like you're like crying or whatever, but I'm just saying like you're feeling a certain way about it. It adds to it that the person that theoretically potentially knew that could happen is still having that too. You know, it just, especially, and I think that that's where it really added to it, was that moment was meant to feel big, and her doing that just added to that moment being big. And like I said, and I thought it was a really nice touch the next night on Raw when Cody had her announce it again. And I liked it too, because it did that whole camera on her and she's like, I got you. That's a nice moment. Like, and also like, if you're hiring people, why wouldn't you want, especially like you said, Jastin, you're in the business of personalities. Why would you not want to hire people and have them be their personalities? Like hire them for their personality and have them be that personality in all of those areas. You know, nobody's hiring Pat McAfee because he just has like, you know, the standard color commentary way of talking. You're hiring Pat McAfee because, and I mean this not in a bad way, but he's a fucking madman, like in a wild card type of sense. You just never know what that man's going to fucking say. That's why you're hiring him. You're not hiring him to, you know, sit there and, like I said, just be a color commentator. You're having him because Shinsuke Nakamura might be coming out and this man's going to stand on the table and fucking conduct it like it's a fucking orchestra. You know, like, so I do. I think it's a smart choice. And like I said, just keep letting her be her. And whoever's complaining about it, shut up. You're wrong. It's just fun. Let it be fun.
Yeah. Totally agree. Totally agree. That is a good shout out, sir.
I mean, and I would just say, like, from my perspective as somebody who isn't just like a very common watcher, if I'm hearing that, I'm going to be more likely engaged as well. So I get your point with that, because if everybody involved in the event is very into the event, I mean, it can be contagious. So I completely get what you mean with that.
Yeah. The only time that doesn't happen is when I'm watching a terrible movie and for whatever reason, everybody around me loves it. I never get contagious like that. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to some really depressing news. You want some really depressing news? Because this is not this is not the news. No, this isn't even the news you're thinking of, Jastin. This is different, secret, depressing news. So, for anybody out there that doesn't know, the ID channel, owned by Warner Brother Discovery, over the last, couple of months, released a documentary called Quiet on Set The Dark Side of Nickelodeon, or children's TV, or whatever the fuck it was called. And in that, it discusses a particular person named Brian Peck, who was charged with doing several horrendous crimes to a child. And I really suggest watching that documentary. Very good. Very good documentary.
It is really good.
It was really good.
I'm not even going into specifics about that. But at one point in this documentary, they talk about this man who did plead guilty to some of the charges. He was at a trial, or he was at his sentencing hearing, and a bunch of people from Hollywood were like there to speak on his behalf and wrote letters defending him to the judge and talking about it. And there's a lot of those people in there. A lot of people that I'm very disappointed in that did stuff like that. But there's one in particular I wanted to bring up, because the documentary did not talk about what I'm about to talk about when it comes to said celebrity. So, a lot of people know of beloved sitcom dad Alan Thicke. He wrote a letter in defense of this guy. And they even said in the documentary, well, he's passed away, so, you know, he doesn't have a chance to defend himself or to discuss it or apologize or whatever you want to do or talk about with that. And so it's almost like people wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe now he'd be different with it. But I think there's a very particular piece of information that a lot of people don't know about Alan Thicke that to me makes me feel like I need to bring this up, because I don't think it matters that he's dead or not, because when Alan Thicke was 40, this was back in the year of 1987, and Alan Thicke was 40 years old. 40. That man was dating a 17-year-old known by the name of Christy Swanson. People may know her as Buffy the Vampire Slayer from the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And at one point, when she was 19 and he was 42, they did get engaged. Now, with that information, I think it's fair to say I really don't care. Like, if he was like, oh, you know, maybe he would have not defended that child predator nowadays. Motherfucker, I mean, what do you call being 40 dating a 17-year-old?
That's giving very Elvis behavior to me.
Especially because when he was 38, she was 15. That's when they fucking met. Yeah.
That's rough.
Not saying the man's been convicted of anything, but, you know, I think we are kind of clear on, or at least I've been very clear on how I sit with this stuff. Patterns. You do shit like that, and then you write a letter in defense of a guy that sexually assaulted a child. I mean, who was pretty much the same age as Christy Swanson was when they met. Yeah.
That's sad. I honestly didn't know that they were engaged.
Yeah, and then they got engaged.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know they were dating at all. But I mean, general too.
Like, I was 2 years old when all this was going down, but still, like, you know, it's one of those things, like, years later, you hear all this shit, and, like, you know, like I said, everybody was like, oh, he's beloved man, beloved this, beloved sitcom dad.
Yeah.
You don't hear that gross ass shit he was doing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, just in general, the level of disappointment that I have in so many people who wrote a letter in defense of that guy is really upsetting. But yeah, like I get what you mean. It's like, of course, like that. If I had known that information beforehand, I probably would have been like, well, that's not as surprising as some of the other ones is, which is sad to say, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, considering this shit happened damn near, 40 years ago? I'm like, why was anybody surprised? I mean, and this is also how disgusting our culture is when it comes to this stuff. The National Enquirer in 2016 wrote an article called Alan Thicke's Tragic Love for Underage Buffy Star. Is it really tragic? Is it? Not for him. And that's what that headline does. The headline says, his love is tragic. No. That's not tragic. It's disgusting. For her, it's tragic, sure. She was the victim there. So even 8 years ago, people were still fucking up how they were talking about it.
That's when he died, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some pictures of it too. It's very weird. Because I'm not going to lie, it looks like a man with his daughter. Like, it is weird.
I always just wonder with people who like date somebody that much younger and just that realization of like, oh, I could definitely have a child your age. Like, that's just very strange to me. I don't know.
No,
and like I was,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I was seeing I didn't know this about Michael Sheen, that his new wife is only like 5 years older than his daughter. I think that's odd. I mean, aside from that interesting judgment call there, I like Michael Sheen a lot, but I was unaware of that age gap there. But sorry, go ahead, Justin.
No, I was just going to say, hearing about some of those letters that people wrote in on that documentary was a bit disturbing. And like you were talking about, all of the stuff about his tragic, he made a mistake and all of this kind of stuff. A mistake. Like they were acting like this is slipping on a banana peel. A mistake. Like, oops, I raped a kid. Like, what? A mistake.
Well, but they're also wording it in such a degree, because this is also like prime time of when people would blame the underage person, and they, it's they were the jailbait.
And he must have been tempted in some sort of way. The temptations of a child.
I don't remember who
I would have been
said
so angry reading those letters.
Yeah.
That was, I believe, the mom.
Yeah.
From what show was he on? Was it Growing Pains?
Maybe. Could have been. But I know that she at least later said, I completely retract everything I said because I learned new information and I never would have written that. But just the fact that even if you did learn new information, in any sort of way, blaming a child for causing a temptation for somebody like that is just absurd to me.
Yeah, that was the mom from the Growing Pains that did say that he just the temptation must have been too much. It's vile ass shit.
Like, I just want to know how you like read that and think that that makes sense to say, like in any capacity. I don't know.
And wasn't James Marsden one of them?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like,
James
no,
Marsden was one of them.
James, that hurt me. My heart sunk.
Yeah.
Never learned
went,
about
no.
anyone that's a hero, I guess. Like, I don't know,
went,
man.
No, not him.
James Marsden was one of them. Will
I like
Friedle
James Marsden.
was
Yep.
one of them. Eric from Boy Meets World. Ryder Strong. Sean from
Those
Boy Meets
killed
World.
me. Those killed me. I was
They
so
really
upset about that.
did. And the only thing, though, that I'm holding out on is that I know that later in that documentary, they said that some of these people weren't privy to all of the facts. Like they wrote without really understanding the
Knowing the
situation,
information.
or they heard a certain story and then found out that there was much more to it. And maybe some of that I could believe. I doubt everybody was given the whole story and then asked to write a letter. You know, sometimes I'm sure some people were manipulated a little bit, or this is what happened. You know, it wasn't really what the kid is saying it was. It was more this. I'm sure there was some manipulation,
Yeah.
but still, some of those letters
Well,
were anger inducing.
from what I've heard from some of these people when they've talked about it recently, was that he presented it as it was like a jailbait situation. Like, oh, you know, I was there and this kid that I knew was underage, but you know, he just kept coming on to me, kept enticing me.
See, that bullshit.
And it just was too much, and I just ended up giving in once. And now I'm in trouble.
See, yeah. That sounds about right.
And I get that that's what you're told. But also, I don't know. You're still being told the grown man was, quote unquote, tricked by a child.
Tricked. Yeah, still, you took the words right out of my mouth, but still, I mean, with that, after hearing something like that, would I be compelled to write a letter to a judge?
There's not too many crimes I'd be willing to write a letter on behalf of one of my friends for. Like, there are like way lesser crimes that I'd still be like, man, I ain't writing you shit. Like, I know a lot of people don't care about this, but like, let's just say something were to happen and Heather was arrested by the FBI for illegally downloading movies. And she was like, Sterling, would you write a letter for me to the judge to be like, I just made a mistake. I typically buy movies, but I just got tricked into illegal downloading all these movies, so I had to. I'd say, fuck you. I still wouldn't write you a letter.
I guess I'm going to go to Jastin for my letter then. I don't know.
Yeah. But also some of it is because that's a lot of work for me to write a letter. I probably wouldn't
Yeah.
write a letter to get somebody out of a speeding ticket.
I mean,
And
I
that's
had to
just
write
out of being lazy.
I mean, I did have to write a letter once for a friend who was like applying for citizenship, you know, but aside from that, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
No, but that's fine.
That's cool, though.
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't think
would
I've
be-
ever written a letter like that for anyone. Not for
Yeah.
like a legal matter such
Yeah.
as that. Now, recommendations for jobs, stuff like that, but never for like a legal matter.
Right.
I don't think I've ever written a letter
I don't.
on someone's behalf for something like that.
What does it say about me that nobody's asked me to write a letter for recommendation for anything? Not a job.
They know you're going to be like,
nothing
nope.
legal, like nothing. Most of the time, people at this point don't even necessarily come to me for movie recommendations anymore, because too many people go, "Oh, what did you think of this movie?" And I'm like, "I hated it." And they're like, "Well, of course you did." I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
man.
sorry that I don't like bad movies. What was I thinking?
Silly you.
But also, like, I feel like everybody always comes to me when it's a shitty movie. Very rarely does anybody come to me when it's a good one. Weirdly enough, I won't spoil anything, but I did have somebody ask me about the movie we're talking about today. So I'm you know, I won't say what I said to that, but I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, like, man, people were like, Sterling, what'd you think of Super Mario Brothers? I'm like, why the fuck would you ask me what I thought about that? Like, you saw it.
Go, Yahoo!
Like, I don't know how the fuck anybody watched that and thought, I should ask Sterling.
Although I feel like if it's one of those where they're like, okay, everybody's saying good things about it, Sterling, we need your take. And if you also say it's good, they're going to be like, okay, must be a good movie.
But that's the thing is no one was saying good shit about Mario. Even Jastin, who, like, for all intents and purposes, liked it, still didn't give it a great score. Because let's be real.
Yeah.
I did appreciate that, Jastin. When you're like, man, I enjoyed every second of watching this, but let's be real, it's not a great movie.
Yeah,
fair.
That's fair.
Gotta tell the truth, man.
I mean, and just like, sorry, just a real quick touch on the letters that were written. One of the things that really got me was it was James Marsden and like part of his letter saying, you know, he is, you know, dealing with the suffering of 100 men. I was so upset by that because I'm like, but that also makes me feel like, okay, so does this mean that there's something that you've been accused of? Like, should I be worried about this with you now because of how you said that? Like, I don't know.
It does make you concerned, though. It just makes you go, man, how many other people? I mean, that was my first reaction. Going through all those letters and all those names was, man, because you hear all the time about that sort of culture in Hollywood. You know, there's a culture of people being predators and predatory behavior and things like that. And stuff like that makes you go.
Who was James Marsden also really good friends with and done a lot of projects with? Bryan Singer, who's literally been accused of doing the exact same shit.
The company you keep.
One of the people that wrote a letter was also a producer on the X-Men. So I'm like, oh, so you're also friends with Bryan Singer. It's a little weird.
And didn't Taron kill him?
Yeah.
Is that how you say his name? Kill him?
Yeah.
Taron kill him? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A lot of people, and it's gross.
Yeah. I mean, and it is one of those too where it's like kind of like what you were saying, Jastin, about, you know, maybe some of these people didn't like have all the full information before they wrote. And that's why the one lady from Growing Pains did retract her statement, even though I'm still really mad that she even said that. But at least she retracted it. But it's like I haven't necessarily heard too many other stories about them retracting what they said. You know what I mean?
Some people have come out and they're like, oh, I was tricked. I was manipulated, all of these things, blah, blah, blah. And I, whatever. Okay, let's say that argument's true. None of them reached out to the victim afterwards.
Yep. That was actually my next point was like, I think he said still didn't hear a single thing from any of them. Yeah.
One of the people that wrote a letter, I know, worked on a project with the victim. They worked on a project together. Nothing. Even now. Let's just say you just found out now. None of them have reached out to him. And I'm not even taking that from the victim themselves. Some of these people have even said they haven't. But they always, I haven't reached out to them yet. Motherfucker, what are you waiting on? Why are you doing this big public mea culpa on your podcast? And you haven't even called the motherfucker yet? Haven't even texted them, sent them a Facebook message, a direct message on Instagram, nothing?
WhatsApp, anything, really. Like, come on now.
Any number of fucking things you could have done first. Instead of being like, oh, yeah, I was tricked and I'm not actually as bad as my actions make me look. Oh, have you apologized to him? Oh, no, not yet. No. That should be the first thing you did. And
Yeah,
honestly,
I surely would have been compelled to. Like, if I had found out all that, if I wrote a letter and tried to help who I at the time was a friend and then found out about all that, I would have been like, oh man.
Oh yeah.
I gotta apologize for this.
My conscience would have been like immediately like, listen, I feel awful about this and I just need you to know I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also that's the only thing that actually matters. I don't give a fuck how bad you say you are to other people, how bad you feel about it to other people. The fact that you haven't looked that person in the eye and been like, I fucked up. I fucked you over. I added to you being a victim. Who cares about all this other shit? I don't actually care if you're coming out on your, like I said, your podcast, your whatever, on your website, writing a blog, just talking about how bad you feel about it. None of that actually matters. All that to me that truly matters is I talked to this person. I explained my situation. I apologized to them. We had a conversation about it. That's all I'm going to say. Because that's what matters. I don't need you to tell me your reasons why you did this and that, whatever. I need you to tell them. Because honestly...
Even if no one knows you did,
Yes. And if you, if you want to address it in regards of saying like, hey, I talked to them. We had our conversation. I'm leaving it at that. I would 100% respect that because I don't need your public apology. I need to know that you just did that with him, and I don't care what you guys talked about because that none of that matters. I'm not a victim here. The public's not the victim here. There is a clear and distinct victim. Who gives a fuck about anyone else?
I mean, and it would be different if he was like, I don't actually want to hear apologies from anybody, so I'm not taking any apologies. That would be a different thing. You know what I mean? But from everything he's kind of said, as far as like his interview, he's just kind of like, nobody tried to,
Yep. And that's why, I mean, while I do think it's a well-made documentary outside of that, like I said, the fact that they were like, oh, well, Alan Thicke's not alive, like, to defend himself, well, we won't address that much. Call out the shit he did, too. Let's fucking go. I ain't got time for that shit. We're not covering anything else up. Like, nah, let's...
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, is what is there to defend in that situation? Was he tricked by that 15-year-old Christy Swanson? Did she just deceive him into
temptation
and then getting engaged to her? Was it just too much? Like, legitimately, like that right there, like that's like somebody my age going up to a 15-year-old and going, "What's up?" That's disgusting. Yeah. There was something else I wanted to bring up, but we've gone off a lot on this. I'm actually going to save that last thing.
And this was depressing.
Yes.
Thanks.
And I don't necessarily want to talk about this other subject right after this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to follow that, like, this part up. That was bad on my part. I did a bad transition, guys. I should have. It would have been a bad transition. So
you can't have that on your record.
Just a big depression sandwich.
Yeah,
a depression Benedict, or what do you call it? What isn't a Benedict something that's stacked up? Isn't it?
Well, there's.
Am I making that
eggs
up?
Benedict, which is like English muffin, poached egg, hollandaise sauce. Is that what you're talking about? I mean, it's not necessarily a stacked thing. I mean, it's kind of stacked, but
a Benedict is not a stacked dish. I'm thinking of something else.
Like an eggs Benedict is English muffin, poached egg, hollandaise sauce. Sometimes there's like a little thin slice of egg or ham, too.
But there's not like, but it's not like stacked, like on top of each other, like it's a big stack of food.
But it's not big. Like it's an egg
but
McMuffin.
It's not big. It's just
it's an egg McMuffin without the top muffin, like
okay,
it's sauce. But you can also put lobster on it, and you can put some other things. But what I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, it's not. I mean, yes, there are some ingredients stacked on each other, but it's not like more stacked than a typical dish might be.
Yeah, but it's not like going to be like a kebab or something where it's just like you've got all this. Yeah. Maybe that was a better term then. A depression kebab. A depression. I was just trying to come up with what you were. I just did how you were trying not to stack depression on depression.
Or
it could be like a depression pancake stack.
Or
there you go. Or a depression short stack.
If I add this, it'd be a depression full stack. And do we want that?
Yeah. No, we don't.
We're not hungry enough for the full stack. We just want that short stack to go with our breakfast.
Yeah, we just want that short stack.
Yeah. It's fair.
Man, now you got me hungry for IHOP or freaking a place that serves pancakes. We better stop talking about this.
I'm really pissed at Denny's because Denny's used to serve apple pie, and they no longer serve apple pie, and it makes me sad. They serve an apple crisp, which is not the same thing. That's more like a cobbler. It's got a crumble on top. I want an apple pie. So I can give me a good old slice of cheese on it.
Man, I haven't had pancakes in a long time. But an egg Benedict sounds good too now.
Just go get an egg McMuffin tomorrow morning.
As much as we talk about food, like I'm surprised we haven't just like had a full-on meal during a podcast recording at some point.
That's because nobody wants to hear it.
Just, happening in the background when people aren't talking.
Yeah, but this it'd be one of those things like somebody passes it to you and you're like, oh. Get caught off guard. I mean, I've done that just taking a drink before. And plus, I have done that. I have eaten on the podcast. I've eaten since we started doing video. There's like a time I think I was eating yogurt or pudding at the beginning of an episode.
Yeah, but I guess I just mean like us all like eating on the episode.
That's Jastin's fault. Because we were all going to get Spider-Verse
That's
Whoppers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jastin, why?
Yeah. Maybe one of these days when we're reviewing a movie and if they eat some sort of dish or something that we could somehow get, we could get it and then eat it and say if we liked it or not whilst reviewing the film.
I like
but
it.
I don't know. That would be like a very specific situation, and I don't know when that would ever come up. But
like if we were doing the movie Chef or something like that. But also we do record pretty late, so that's also probably another reason we haven't necessarily done that.
Yeah, or maybe in the next Ninja Turtles, if they eat a weird pizza, maybe they'll do the pepperoni and marshmallow. We can have a
you're used to that
marshmallow.
I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead. You're going ahead too. You're in it. You're in it, brother.
I don't got to eat shit. I'll just eat regular ass pizza. I don't got to eat no fucking pepperoni marshmallow bullshit.
The turtle's like just normal pizza too.
What's this? You gotta. I don't got to do shit, motherfucker.
Do it if we agree. You got to do it. If it's
when
two
did I
against
agree
three,
to shit?
You lose the vote.
Like, literally,
you lose vote. You got to.
This is the point at which I would have agreed or not agreed, and I clearly just disagreed.
Well, what if you get outvoted? What if it's 2 against 1? Then you got to do it.
Guess what? You two motherfuckers can do it, and I don't. It's that simple as fuck.
That's not how it works. You got to do it.
No, that's exactly how it works. Like, I can eat whatever dish I want.
I give up. Oh, you. Or just you.
I don't know where this hostility came from. I mean, I would say, Jastin, we're going to vote to make you eat Burger King because you won't do it on your own accord.
I don't say that. I love driving by there.
Yep. Okay. But this isn't the podcast of driving by Burger King. I'm talking about eating it, motherfucker. What about just buying a Whopper to smell it? Would you do that?
One day.
One day? You make it sound like you've never even eaten a Whopper.
You make it sound like people who have like just big dreams that they just never fulfill.
Yeah.
One of these days I'm going to do it. Mark my words.
I'm going to eat that Whopper. Oh, man.
Holy fuck, we got a movie to talk about.
Yeah, we probably should.
Yep.
Somebody will listen to me. Nobody knows anything but you. All right. Are you ready? Yes. Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Hey, Cinefans, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I'm Sterling, and as always, I'm joined by Heather and Jastin. And tonight, we're going to talk about what we liked, didn't like, and everything in between with Dev Patel's writing, directing debut with Monkey Man. We will go spoiler-free recommendations and scores, then into a more spoiler-centric section with time codes in the description to allow you to jump around in both audio and video formats. And with all that, Heather, what are your spoiler-free thoughts on Monkey Man?
I mean, first thing that needs to be said is I love Dev Patel. I think he's great. I think he's a really good actor. I've enjoyed any movie that I've seen him in. I've really enjoyed him in. And I was excited to hear about this whole directing and writing debut he was doing. And when you just hear about all of the work that he put into making this film and getting this film done, it's really impressive and admirable. And I think that, honestly, there have definitely been debut directors that have done worse things. I mean, I think this was a really good first go at it, honestly. And I mean, I mostly like the movie. I think it's got some really creative action scenes in it. I think even though it is pretty much a straightforward sort of revenge story that we've seen in other action movies before, I don't know. I think that he has like his own special flair that he kind of puts into this film, and it's impressive. Like the things that he did with this movie is pretty impressive, I would say. It's not a perfect film. I do think that there are a couple of things that I would definitely maybe have liked to be done differently. I do think pacing was a little bit off. And I don't know. It's like a weird thing of, it's almost like it felt like because they kind of start pretty quickly out the gate with like the action here, it almost just feels like there's not really like a true climax to the movie. And I don't know. So it just kind of, it had a little bit of like a weird pacing thing with it that I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but I think that was probably something that I think maybe could have been done differently. There's a couple of things with the story that maybe they could have possibly explored further than they did. But as far as it's just being sort of the straightforward film that it is, in the sense of man on a revenge path kind of movie, I've definitely seen worse. Silent Night can be one of those that we say is worse, that Jastin loved so much that he probably saw it more than once. But yeah, there's other movies that the concept isn't new, and we've seen this before. I mean, obviously probably the most popular would be John Wick, but so it has those elements. It has that type of quality to it, but it's a different thing. It's like, you don't sit there thinking, oh, he just tried to take stuff from these other movies like this. Like, you don't really feel like, it doesn't give you the vibe that they're just trying to copy a different movie that's like this. It just felt like there was something about it that felt like it was just very true to what he specifically wanted to tell. And I appreciate that. I feel like you do see the vision that he has with it. And for the most part, he carries out what he's trying to do. Dev Patel, of course, like, his acting is what I expected it to be. And I mean, even in just facial expressions, like the acting that he does with his face, anything like that, like he delivers, you know what I mean? He's just very good at just all of the pieces of acting, and I didn't really know too many other people in this movie, but the other performances were really good too. There's some characters that I really enjoyed. There's some themes that I really enjoyed. And of course, the action itself was really well done. They had some really good kind of just brutal action stuff happening at a lot of times throughout the entire film. So it's not one of those where you look at the trailer and you think, oh, they just showed us all the cool parts. You do see a lot more than what they show you in the trailer, which was a good thing. But yeah, I think, obviously the best thing about this movie's got to be the action. They do some really cool things. They could do some really cool shots with that. The style of direction that they do here is different and it's interesting. I didn't hate it. Thought it was pretty good. Like I said, for his first endeavor into directing, I think he did a good job. The writing, because he also wrote this, Dev Patel also wrote this. The story was good. I do think, again, like, it just could have been told possibly in a little bit of a different way to be more effective. But I think that would probably be my biggest criticism with the film. But overall, it was a solid time at the movies. I have no serious issues with the movie, but it's also not something that I'd be like, this is the greatest movie or action movie even that I've seen. But overall, pretty good movie.
Jastin, what about you?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I think I might be in a similar camp. It's pretty good, not the greatest thing I've ever seen or anything like that, but I think it was good enough, and Dev Patel did a good enough job to warrant my respect and to say that this is a pretty good revenge tale action film. I think that really what this film has going for it, because like when you're talking about a revenge movie, there's not too many ways that it can go. This person did it. This person is the person with the vendetta. This is the character we're following. This is the person who did it. And therefore, this is what we are doing. And a lot of times that story can be really simple. So really, it's just about the journey. It's funny because I say this a lot with romantic comedies too. You kind of know what the result is going to be, but the idea is how do we get there? What kind of journey are we on in this revenge tale? And one of the strengths of John Wick is the choreography and the martial arts. It was the mixture of the gunplay and the martial arts and all of these crazy set pieces and stunts and interesting ways that they shot it. And that's why we love John Wick so much. And I'm not saying that this is like as good as John Wick, but I feel like maybe I could say some similar things about this and that. Where this movie wins is its style. It's very lively. It's very colorful. It's very passionate. It's very in your face, to borrow a term that people don't really use a lot anymore. But I felt that when I watched this. I felt something when I watched it. And that's more than what I can say for a lot of run-of-the-mill revenge tale action movies. I definitely felt something. Like you're watching these scenes, and you use the term brutal, Heather, and I think that's a good term, but I would also add gritty to it. These aren't beautifully choreographed fight sequences or anything like that, but they are gritty fight scenes. They are they are brutal in a lot of ways. And back to that in your face term, he does a lot of just close shooting of fights, but it didn't feel like close shooting to hide imperfections or to hide jump cutting choreography. There are times where the camera just stays and you get to see like a sequence play out. So I will give some kudos for that. You know, there are some tracking shots of fights and things like that. And of course, there's some jump cutting too, but I don't think it was overly excessive in that way. But what I liked about the scenes was just the way he shot them. It was just real close. You could almost feel the contact. You could almost feel like when somebody gets stabbed, it's just right there and you're seeing the knife go in and the camera doesn't go anywhere. It stays there and lets you see the knife go in and stuff like that. You know, there are moments where I think it's really gritty, and it really sort of fit this character who had a very gritty lifestyle and was kind of an underdog in every way in this scenario, and sort of was, you know, getting beat up constantly and punishing him and getting punished and all of this stuff. And then going through the trauma he was going through. You know, this is a very like character that dealt with a lot of gritty situations. So I felt like the fighting matched what the character was and how this character would have to fight. Really scrappy, really just, you know, kind of a by any means necessary fighter. This wasn't about a character of discipline and technique and stuff like that. This very much was a character that was about rage and a guy who could just take a licking and keep on ticking, so to speak. And that's really what this movie was. I mean, from childhood to up until we get to the end, that's pretty much really what this character is. And it's not just that. That's just one aspect of the film. But then there's this other kind of dressing on it with the Hanuman tale, which is that Hinduism tale about the monkey man. It's a big part of their culture, and it's about this monkey that has these incredible powers, godlike powers, and there are stories and things like that, you know, kind of comparable to like, I don't know, like how we have the Zeus and, you know, it's, I don't know. It's, similar in that I guess every culture kind of has these gods and these stories and these things kind of like that. Although now I'm just kind of convinced that like all cultures just kind of have a thing for monkeys. I don't know what it is, but we like our powerful monkeys. Over here, we got Caesar, he's a monkey king. We got the Planet of the Apes and stuff like that. Over in China, you got Sun Wukong, the monkey king, who's got these great powers and can fly on a cloud and carries a staff. The character Goku is based on. And then there's Goku, he's a monkey king god person. He's a Saiyan, but what was he? He turned into a monkey that had all these great powers and stuff like that. And, that's he's very much based on the Sun Wukong story. So I don't know. People be loving our monkeys, we love our monkeys, but I even liked how that was in this, the Hanuman tale about this monkey man, this god with these godlike powers who got too close to the sun. And there was a lesson there about getting too close and what could potentially happen to you and taking those chances and stuff like that. So it had a little message about that in that way that sort of tied in to this story and how our character in a metaphoric way was this Hanuman, was this monkey man. So, there was even some symbolism and stuff like that. But I thought that overall the acting and direction is good. The story is very simple, but he found some interesting ways to tell the story. I do agree, Heather. I do think that maybe there are some parts that maybe could have been shorter. I think maybe he spent time on certain things and maybe we should have spent time on other things. Sort of the jagged way that he sort of tells the origin story of the character and why we are wanting revenge. I question if maybe we found out a little late in the story, and maybe if we had found out earlier, I just wonder if my investment would have been different, but I don't know. Maybe it was fine the way he did it because you could argue he did it differently. So he's trying to be different, but I question the order of which certain things were. I do question that a little bit. I wonder if maybe I would have had more of an investment if I had gotten a little more of that at the beginning versus where it was, which I felt like it was more towards the end of the beginning of the second act, which was an interesting place to put some of that stuff. So I do argue where he placed everything makes it feel not as put together as I wanted it. It might be the best way I can say it without just specifically talking about stuff. So yeah, so I think that there are some issues with his storytelling, but this being his first film, I think he'll get better at that. Nothing felt like something that couldn't be improved later or couldn't be improved with experience or something like that. So I really do feel like overall I got a movie that was good and Dev Patel showed a lot of potential. I think he showed a lot of potential. We know he can act. We know he could do that. But now we know that he can tell a story. And this was pretty good. And as he continues to do this, I think he'll only get better from here on out. So yeah, my impressions for the most part of this, it's not a perfect movie, but it definitely was lively. This movie was alive, and this movie kind of made you feel something. And I think that's really for a movie like this, sometimes that's all you can ask. Can you get your audience to feel something for what you did? And I think he did do that. He told a good story. Oh, and the music was very good in this. Fit the mood of what was happening, fit the mood of the fights. I think that's what kept it so lively too. A lot of good musical choices. by him in this. And lastly, I'll say it was also just, and maybe it felt a little more fresh too, because we're just seeing this from a different view, from a different culture, told a different way, from a different pair of eyes. And so getting all of those differences and seeing how somebody from not from our culture sees this story and how it plays into their culture and what they believe and what they and things that they admire was refreshing in that way too. I didn't understand everything, but I definitely appreciated it.
For the most part, yeah, I did really enjoy this movie. It is very straightforward. I do agree with you, Heather. The pacing is a little off. Like, I found like the fight sequences and the action set pieces very frantic and energetic and pushed it really forward. And then if it wasn't one of those, this film slows down drastically. And there's not that good bridging pace between any of it. It's either frantic and in your face or slow and plodding. And I'm not saying that either one of those is wrong. It's just there wasn't a good transitional pace to anything. It was just one or the other almost constantly. And I do think that that's partly an experience. And, that's something that can get better, especially when you hear like all the things that Dev Patel went through making this movie. He broke his hand at one point, broke some toes, got an eye infection.
Damn.
Yeah, because there's a scene in the movie whenever they're like fighting in a bathroom and there's like water all over the floor and he's like face down in the water for a lot of it. And so essentially with the crew walking around and having dirty ass shit on their feet and all this other stuff, walking in water, and then he's like face down in the water for a lot of it. Yeah, he got eye infections from it. Had to undergo hand surgery because of the way he broke his hand, but went back to shooting, so it's kind of frantic, all the things he dealt with. If I'm remembering correctly too, this was also one of the last movies filmed during COVID that had not come out yet, so all kinds of things with this movie, and, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, like Heather said, this could have been Silent Night. Because same thing, revenge movie. I'm a thing and I've got to learn how to fight and do all this shit so I can get the revenge I want. It could have been that. This was better. In almost every conceivable way. So kudos for that. The fight sequences were good. I don't think that, once again, it's a knock against this movie, but it's not. They're good, but, there's nothing about them that really just is like completely standoutish. I will say this, it keeps up with modern fight choreography. It's not a step back or anything like that. It just also doesn't really advance anything. It uses a technique that a lot of fight sequences do nowadays, where in the middle of like a swing, like a punch or a kick, they cut one frame out. It actually just makes it feel faster, is what it does. Because your brain has to help it visually move from one point to the next. Your brain moves it there faster. So it just kind of makes everything move a little quicker, But that's a very common film technique. So I'm not really knocking this film for doing it. You know, it is a little jittery because of that. But, you know, like Jastin said, it's not insanely jump cutty. Because that's not that filming technique is not jump cuts. Don't get me wrong. It's not jump cuts. It's not I'm swinging and the next cut is a different angle where I'm, you know what I mean? It's not changing the angle. You see the full swing. It just takes one frame out to make it go a little faster, which makes it feel a little harder, a little more brutal. You know, it's a feeling thing that it adds, you know. And apparently that's because, you know, Dev Patel apparently has been a martial artist most of his life. Kind of just wanted to do something with that, you know. So, you know, like, there's a lot to like about this movie. You know, there's some stuff to not like about this movie, but there's nothing to hate. And, you know, after the last 2 weeks of shit, I'll gladly take that. Because, man, it's been a brutal few weeks of me going to the movies.
So you're saying Monkey Man beats King Kong, essentially?
Yeah. Monkey Man is better than Kong. Better than Ghostbusters.
I was hoping the guy that he was trying to fight at the end would have ice powers. I was hoping for it. Then we get that trifecta, you know, but it didn't happen.
Oh, man. I didn't know what to do with myself. It's the first movie I've watched in the theaters in 3 weeks that didn't have ice powers. I was so confused. I was like, wait, they can make movies without ice powers?
But it did sure still have a fiery death.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did.
So did another movie I saw this week. Weird.
I'm curious what movie.
Maybe you'll all find out another time.
Maybe, yeah, fiery deaths, I guess, are just more common than I thought.
I don't know. In the year of our Lord 2024, I did not know that they could not have ice powers in a movie. I thought this was going to be the year of ice powers.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get 100 straight movies of ice powers. Everything. I thought that Disney was going to secretly announce Frozen 3 comes out next week. Like, then Mortal Kombat 2 is the week after. Like, I was like, well, bundle me up because apparently I'm just watching some ice.
You know how, like, a while back you had said that, like, if you put a voodoo shark in anything, it's a better movie? I feel like, are you saying that putting ice powers in anything makes it a terrible movie automatically?
I'm trying to think. It's been a while since I've liked anything with ice powers.
Except Frozen, but that doesn't count because, I mean, obviously that.
I mean, it would have to be Frozen too.
Yeah.
Because I did not like Mortal Kombat. I did not like a lot of stuff. Maybe Incredibles 2? Trying to remember what came out. Frozen 2 had to have come out after Incredibles 2.
Yeah, I think it did.
Okay.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, no. It gets iffy. Now, if you really want to mind fuck me, you have a voodoo shark with ice powers. What the fuck do I do in that situation?
Yeah, what do you do with that? I mean, did you enjoy the ice power stuff, you know, in Game of Thrones? Maybe that could be it.
I mean, sure or not. I don't, it's all the same. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, ice powers just be ice powers. Like, I'll give Elsa this. Elsa can create sentient ice beings. That's that's next level shit.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, she's basically a god. Nobody talks about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but anyway, back to this. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to like about this, you know. Also, like, shout out to like something that's like a very lesser known thing. Is the Hydra that are in this movie. So for a lot of people that don't know, like India essentially for like centuries has had technically 3 genders. It's like male, female, and Hydra. Hydra. Like it's the 3rd gender. It's the combination of male and female. Like the feminine, like, it's the both. Like it's trans people. It's any non-binary. It's that. And like Dev Patel does go out of his way to have that in this movie and have it just be a normal part of the culture because, for a while it has been. So, like, it's not crazy. Like, now it is one of those things where, of course, recently everybody's like, oh, now we have to have problems with it because, society is just a fucking madhouse. But, that's just been a thing for so long. And that's why, like I said, those people just exist. That's why he's not even like, it doesn't question anything about it. It's just that is technically a normal part of big aspects of their culture. And, whenever like the character Alpha's like, yeah, we used to be warriors. That's a true thing, And so I really liked the way he handled that and included that in this movie and how that was an important thing of what he wanted to represent with this movie. So that was really cool too. But, it's pretty all right. Recommendations and scores?
Yeah.
Recommendations and score.
Jastin, go.
Yeah, it's a recommend. It's good enough. I would say recommend. I think that it would satisfy, especially if you're looking for like a martial arts revenge, action adventure. If you're looking for a movie for guys who like movies, this will probably fit the bill. I think it's good enough and it's appealing enough, and I think the action's good enough for it to recommend, and that's really what he was targeting, and I think he did a successful job at that. And then on top of that, it's got a real sense of style and energy that I think if you saw it, I feel like you dig it, So yeah, I think it's not a great movie or anything like that, but it's pretty good. It's good enough to recommend, No sour grapes here for me. So we'll give it, I think it's a B at least. So we'll go 80. 80, grabbing the sun when you thought it was a mango out of 100.
I don't really like mangoes, but I'm not gonna lie, I would never confuse the sun with the mango.
Yeah, it seemed like it'd be hard to do.
Right? Like just a little different, like, at least texture wise, you'd think like grabbing the sun, grabbing a mango, it'd feel different. Heather, what about you?
Yeah, I recommend it. I do think it's got a lot of good qualities about it. It definitely has more good things about it than not good things. So yeah, if you're into action, if you like Dev Patel, if you like revenge stories, any of those reasons, yeah, I think this is something that you should at least give it a shot. And yeah, I mean, like I also enjoyed the representation that they gave here, and I appreciate even though in a lot of the movie dialogue is few and far between for some of the characters, I do appreciate the still being in the moment with those characters and still feeling what they feel, specifically Dev Patel and his character, and like in any, motion he's doing in his action, or any, moments where he's just kind of contemplating things or reflecting back on things. You feel everything he feels, and I appreciate how they did that. Again, the way that the story unfolds or the way it's told, there's some tweaks that could have been made to it, but again, like, it's nothing that completely takes me out of saying that you can enjoy this movie. So yeah, I think it was a solid time. It definitely, if nothing else, does have some really, at least in my opinion, some really good action scenes to it. So yeah, I say, give it a shot. Why not? I'm going to give it 78 knives to the throat using your teeth out of 100.
That was a cool scene.
That was tight.
That was wild, but it was cool.
Yeah, I recommend it. I think, it's definitely up there with movies I've seen this year. Like, we're in fucking April. Like, and I'm talking about movies that are released this year. I'm not talking about necessarily movies that I've watched this year from last year, whatever. I'm talking about movies released in the calendar year of 2024. This is up there. It's definitely a nice, refreshing break from the bullshit that has been thrown my way over the last couple of weeks. And, there is something also slightly to be said about the fact that this, at least as of this moment, is not a franchise. The other movies over the last few weeks, it's been Ghostbusters franchise, Godzilla Kong franchise. Even the first Omen is technically a part of a franchise. And while, there's something, there's nothing wrong with franchises. It's just nice that this is a nice, original movie that does just pretty much, a lot of good things and does nothing completely terribly. I'm a little bit lower than you guys, but not even a drastic amount. I'll give it a 74. 74 dog sidekicks that bring you guns out of 100. Cinescore for this movie is a 77. So, yeah,
cool.
Not that crazy. Spoilers?
Yep.
Spoilers.
I really agree with you, Jastin. They slow played the origin a little too much. Like, you're getting the last little bits of his origin story like what, 20 minutes before the fucking movie ends? Like, geez, like, that's a long time to drag that part out. I don't think breaking it up really served that much function. Because it wasn't like there was any mystery to it. Like, it tells you fairly early in the movie that he's after very specific people. So why slow play it? There's no mysteries to anything. You're not getting that twist of, oh no, that person was a part of it. Like, no, you kind of get it very early on in the movie that all these people are interconnected and that he's going to probably try to kill them all. So what narrative purpose do you serve dragging the origin of why he wants to kill these people throughout the whole movie? You could have just done it all at the beginning and then just gone, and here it is. I think it would have served just the same purpose. If not, I think actually what it would have served a little better is it would, I think, fix some of the pacing problems this movie has. Because you're not interrupting these other scenes and the other sections of the movie to go back to this part that it broke up into 97 chunks. I think it would have actually paced itself better at a certain point.
Yeah, I'm a little like, I don't know if I wanted it right at the beginning, but definitely earlier than when we got it. Some of it I liked, though. I liked the PTSD moments he was having. And I kind of liked that there was a little bit of a mystery in that, like, oh, why is he reacting this way? Or why is this affecting him this way? And then you seeing little bitty shots of what happened. And I think I'm just trying to read his mind here, but I think Patel's mindset was the killing of the mom is so brutal. I want to have that be later so that you can understand like just how brutal it was. Like, you know, his mom was killed, but when you see how it happened, it's like, I think he was thinking it would be an oh damn moment, but I do agree it still came too late. I think it definitely needed to be earlier. Right at the beginning, seeing her get killed like that, maybe it might have been all right, but I do kind of like him having those PTSD moments, and they're kind of being a mystery. I just think we needed to solve it sooner. Like, just, you know, give that to us a little sooner. I think I would have had us see that maybe even just before he fought. What was the name of the guy? The police officer. Yeah, the corrupt police chief. Maybe if we had gotten it then, maybe if we had gotten to see the mom be killed just before they had that first fight in that restroom, I think that might have been a good place for it. Maybe we should have solved it then. Then boom, they have that fight, but nothing gets solved. You know, that was pretty brutal. Nothing gets solved. But then the whole second half of the movie, we now know why he wants to kill this guy. And so when we're seeing him kind of come back and train and all of that, get stronger and all of that stuff, maybe that would have been more meaningful if we had saw it before that. I don't know. That's just trying here, but you know. But I do agree with you overall. Yes, way too late.
I mean, and that's fair. You can spread it out some. I mean, I'm too desensitized to, you know, be fazed with the brutality of the mother's death. Okay, you know. I do. Yeah,
Well, really, both of us, like, we're not going to be like, oh man, I'm squeamish. You know what I mean? But I think maybe he thought that was going to be impactful, seeing her die that way, seeing him as a kid looking down at her. So I don't know. I felt like he really thought that was going to be impactful to reveal it very late.
Yeah. I mean, and I get that. I did like the PTSD moment, so I do agree with you, Jastin. So maybe if you're wanting to use the telling of the origin story to also tell those, okay, I get spreading it out. You know, I mean, Heather, what are your thoughts on the mom's death, since you're not a desensitized monster?
I mean,
we need a normie's point of view.
It was, you know, obviously sad or anything, but there wasn't really anything super shocking about it. You know, it's just kind of like, oh man, that sucks. Like, oh, that's brutal how she dies, but not in like a, oh my gosh, I can't believe they went there type of way. You know what I mean? And it was sad. Yeah, it definitely was. But and you do get those moments of obviously his connection with his mom when he's a kid. But I feel like they don't really build up enough of that relationship for you to feel more impacted by the mom dying.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, but also, like, one of the things that I did think was a little dumb was the fact that they kept being like, oh man, what happened to your hands? They're so scarred, your hands. Oh man, what happened to your hand? We all knew that was going to happen. Like, you were going to see that, right? Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, what really is the mystery? We all knew at a certain point he got his hands burned as a kid. Like, you know, does it really, do you need the mystery of, oh, it happened trying to put out his mom while she was on fire? I mean, well, I get that is a tragic scene. It's not like, you know, you were really, you know, there's no deeper mystery to it. You know, like, it can just be tragic. You don't have to treat it like a mystery also, you know? So, like, there are those elements that I was like, that's just a little weird that they're constantly, like, doing that aspect with it.
I agree with that, but tell me if this is a dumb idea or not. What if they had sort of played around with that a little more? Like, what if he was telling everybody a different story? And then we find out, like, he's telling all these different stories. And maybe there's, like, kind of like, you know, I'm going to tell you 3 things and 2 things are a lie and 1 thing is the truth. Like, what if he told one person, oh, I accidentally, you know, I was cooking something and I burned myself or something, you know? Then maybe one time he's like, I burned myself trying to put my, you know, my mother was burning and I burned myself trying to help my mom. And then the person looks at him and he kind of looks at him and they kind of, then they're like, and the guy's like, you don't really mean that shit, and kind of walks the fuck off. And like, then he tells somebody else the story, a different story. And maybe then we find out, oh, it really did happen with his mom doing some shit. I don't know. I think they should have played with that a little more. Or maybe that's a dumb idea. I don't know. Jokerish with the scars. You know what I mean?
They did a touch. Because early in the movie, when he's talking to Queenie, he's like, oh, look at my hands. I've obviously, you know, cleaning products. I'll work. You know, so he does a small version of that. I think if you really wanted to use the burned hands in an impactful way, have when he's trying to put his mom out and burning the fuck out of his hands, have the police chief guy watch him do it and laugh at him. Because you've got this little kid burning the fuck out of his hands and he's like screaming and the cop's just laughing at him. And then just like backhands him and knocks him out or something. You know, but then later in the movie when they're all fucking fighting, especially in like maybe the first in the bathroom fight scene or later when they're fighting and all this other stuff, like he notices the hands and it clicks. Like, burned ass hands.
That would have been a nice
he
reveal.
recognizes him. That would have been cool.
Based on
like
the burned
that.
hands, you know.
I like that. Yeah, he recognizes him. He's like, you little bastard.
Yeah.
It's you.
Like, and you know, and you could even do like a weird Street Fighter type of line of when he's like, you killed my mom and all this other stuff. And when he's like, motherfucker, to me, that was just a Tuesday. Like, which
Very
you could
bison of him.
say whatever you want about that movie. That is one of the single greatest lines delivered by a movie villain ever.
No,
For
you're
you,
right.
it was
Yeah.
the biggest day of your life, the day that Bison visited your village. For me, it was a Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know, have him say something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Because he is the type of character who would say something like that. You
like,
know?
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Definitely.
I killed your mom. I've killed lots of moms. I don't even remember your mom. And he'd be like, my mom's the one that gave you that scar. And he's like, cool. I don't remember your mom.
Kind of like, I guess you could say Thanos when he's like telling Wanda, I don't even know who you are. Like, that whole thing, you know.
Yeah. It's those things like that. I think that that would have served a little bit more purpose. And while it is a slightly cliche thing to do, we've talked about sometimes cliches make things feel nice. And I think that
it makes sense for this revenge story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just fuel the revenge more, things like that. Like just put little touches into it. I think that just really adds to it. Especially when you go out of your way to have those details. I also didn't understand why he like cleaned the monkey mask and like made it all white to wear for 5 fucking seconds before he takes it off and just throws it on the fucking ground.
I had that thought too. I was like, you didn't even get inside with it on.
Yeah. I'm like, because to me, that would have been cooler. If he's just fucking tearing this place up, wearing that fucking mask, and everybody's confused as fuck. And then whenever he sees that police chief guy, he fucking grabs the mask and throws it off and is like, yeah, it's me, motherfucker. Let's go.
Yep.
I didn't understand that. I don't understand why he did the whole mask thing.
Or even one of those moments where like, he's got it on and then the villain passes by him, but then he sees the burned hands, and then he kind of is like, uh-oh, what's going on here? Like something like that, where it was more of like a build up or like a more satisfaction out of the moment,
And, the one other thing that I really could have done without in this movie was at the end when it's like, did he die? Or did he, does he live? Really? Like, do we really need to have that again? Like every one of these fucking revenge movies where they either have it blatantly obvious that, like, it's just end it like a normal fucking movie. You don't have to end it like, oh, the sole purpose of him was to get vengeance. And now it's ambiguous whether he lives or dies. Like, I get that that's a very in vogue thing to do because of John Wick 4. But also, that's John Wick fucking 4. That's not your movie 1. Yeah, when you're John Wick and you're on your 4th movie, you get a lot more leeway for shit. Like, it's like you get leeway. You get the benefit of the doubt. You get them going, because this is the end of a series, or maybe it's not. We haven't decided yet. Your little thing of, is he dead or not dead? Just to like, if you end up getting a sequel, you're like, I wasn't. But also, if you don't get a sequel, you're like, well, yeah, because he died. Like, we don't have to do that. Can we just agree on that? We don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. Just pick a lane. Just pick a lane. Just have an ending.
Yeah. Like,
it's all right. It's okay. You can do it.
Jastin, go ahead and keep going, man.
Yeah, and I mean that was just one of the main things. We talked about it, but yeah, the origin and kind of it just where he decided to put things like that, I think was an issue. Some of the better decisions he made, I did like that he fought this cop a first time. I liked that there was a first encounter. I like that it wasn't one of those cheap things where, they have a small interaction and then the cop gets away or henchmen get in between him and he escapes and then we got to wait to the end for them. I like how there was a first encounter and it was a good one. Like, I mean, they almost killed each other in that encounter and that was pretty good.
I like that they added the element of there was a henchman that was kind of in the middle. But that motherfucker just kept getting shot and damaged. Like he was affecting the fight, but he was just getting decimated.
Yeah, that's fair to say. Yeah, there was somebody. Yeah, a henchman affected the fight, and that was hilarious how they did that. That was another good part of like the storytelling of the fighting. But I think having that first encounter did build anticipation for what was going to happen later. And it gave more reasoning to why he was training and why he was, preparing himself, because he knew he would need to be better than what he was that first time. So I think that was a decision I liked, that he made. I thought that was a good decision. The beginning of the movie, not so much the beginning. I mean, I liked all of the stuff and setting up Hanuman and telling you about that and how it parallels with this character and and the mother, and all of that stuff was fine. But I felt like the first act is a bit long. I think if I'm talking about trimming fat, I think the establishment of that, the world building, and then the time it took for him to infiltrate that world, and the pickpocketing of the purse, and the purse is passed through 50 people, and then it gets to him, and then he takes that, and then he goes there, and then he has the whole thing of, I need a job, and look what I'll do with my hands. And then she hires him, and then he's in there, and then he's washing dishes. And then one time he goes into the room. I think, you see, even explaining it feels like a lot. Like,
well, it was just like a weird thing, kind of like the Phantom or the Shadow, where it's like they also have a network of criminals that help them do the right thing. And that's why he was able to just get all this shit and and it goes through this like series of domino of people's passing shit around for, it felt like 4 minutes of just watching this little wallet get passed around, and then just got her ID.
Yeah. And then it was just, I got it. Like, that could have been too much. That could have been two son of a bitches. And then he could have just had it. And I think it would have just had the same effect. Why was there this network of 20 people? If you show all of that, this great network of 20 people that are all in on this and communicating and stuff like this, well then, where were all these people? Why do we need a dog to deliver a gun when we got 20 motherfuckers?
Yeah. Or why did why did you have to go underground and like go through a high-speed chase throughout the city? Like, why wouldn't somebody just hide you real quick?
Exactly. So see,
Yeah,
this is a byproduct of inexperience. That is a cool scene, but maybe it doesn't quite serve the rest of the narrative. Because why weren't we using these resources later? And he was building this character as a very resourceful person. So I don't think he would have just forgot about all that help he got early in the movie. Or they could have came back later, or somebody could have been helping him train or something. I don't know. But I just felt like he had resources we then just forgot about. And I don't like when movies do that, so I just had to call it out here. And all of this is adding to the runtime of this first act, which I just think was entirely too long. It just took too long to infiltrate this place. And I felt like all of that could have been quicker. We could have cut down the whole purse passing scene. That could have been one or two people, or he could have just paid one guy to do that. The first pickpocket that biked off and just in the disguise and biked off and stuff, he could have just biked off to him around the corner, and he could have gave him the money, and then we have the purse. So that cuts 2 minutes. Then
what about
he could have took
the wheelchair guy? Literally could have just gone around the corner and handed it to him. Like, you didn't even just wheelchair. Done.
Yeah. And showing all that other stuff, like, again, it was a cool scene, but it doesn't really serve the narrative, because now we're wondering, well, where was all of that later in the movie? Where was another, and if you're going to do that, there needed to be a full circle moment of that, maybe instead of the dog with the gun, there's a scene later that's even cooler, or it's at night or something, and all these people are doing this passing and stuff to get him this gun, and maybe the final person straps it on the dog or something, and the dog runs to him or something. You know, maybe that's why nobody was just picking up this dog and going, why is this dog running around with this shit on him? I'm going to investigate and see what that is. Maybe his network of guys were in on the dog and stuff, but we didn't have that. So it just feels like a wasted scene, really. It was just feel like a scene for cool sake, but it didn't really serve the purpose of the narrative.
I'm slightly curious about something, Jastin. When do you consider the first act ending?
Would you say it ended right when he got I would say it ended right when he got that job. Right when he got the job from her and found out that there was this other part of the underworld that he was trying to get to. When he talks to his little friend, the friend with the car. Oh my gosh, I should have looked
I get what you're saying.
But
I think, wow.
Somewhere in there, I would say.
So the funny thing is you're like, the first act was too long. Your first act is shorter than mine. To me, the first act felt like it ended essentially when he fought the police chief in the bathroom. Because, like, to me, the escape from that is the beginning of the second act.
It's the second act. I can see that. You know what? You may be right about that. Because he finds out, because that conflict.
It's still the infiltration.
That's the rising.
And that's the end of the infiltration. So the escape is what leads to him ultimately ending up at that temple, which is the second act. So to me, that's like the beginning. That's the transition from first act to second act, is the escape. Like, if you want to call all that part second act, that's fine. I just think the ending of the first act is the fight. To me,
you're right, because that would be the rising action, and then after that is the falling action. Yeah, I think you're more accurate. That is more accurate.
Well, it's not even that. Like, I wasn't even trying to debate that outside of the fact of, like, when you were like, this is where I felt like it was, and you're like, it was still too long, and I'm like, man. I was just curious. I was just legitimately curious where it was, because, like, I agree. First act is too long. And I'm like, my first act, like, just the way we described it, into 20 minutes after yours did. Like, I was just like, yeah, it was, though. Like, either way you look at it, it's still too long. Like,
yeah.
And it is
because like you said, the infiltration itself is just really long. And you're right. I ended it with him getting the job, but you're right. That was only the beginning of the infiltration. But then he went underground, and then he's and then we were meeting people and all these influential people. Then there was another scene where we went deeper underground, and there were women, and, we're having sex, and there are strippers and all of that stuff. So there were two, like, look at the underground scenes. And then the deeper underground was where we had that first fight. So yeah, just a little much. It was just a little much.
You had to have that entire scene where he has to break down, talking to the sex worker of, oh, I know what that bird is. And, like, you had to have that whole scene. Like, it's just still going and going and going. And I don't hate that he has that conversation with that character. I don't hate that character is a part of the story. I think that all that's part, fine. I like the fact that they hint that there could be a love story there, but ultimately he's so focused on revenge, he doesn't give a fuck about a love story. Those are nice little elements to it. It's just, it's so loaded into the first act. There's just,
and then he
so
took the
much
friend to one of his fights and was like, hey, bet on this person. I'm going to go down in the third round and bet on this. And then he had to show his friend that he fought in the monkey mask, and, he had to show his friend that. And that's great. He showed the friend that, but your audience has already seen that. So what was different about that other than, okay, he gained the trust of this person? I guess that was the story there.
It was that, but also to then have at the end of the movie, the friend know that he's still alive, even though he didn't use his friend to bet on him. Why didn't he do that? No, he had some random street kid do it. Why didn't he have a friend do it?
Yeah.
But it's all just so he could be like, so friend knows he's still alive? Like, was that it?
And I do have a question just about that, because were they essentially saying that the fights were supposed to be rigged?
It was essentially more serious professional wrestling. Like,
okay,
where you hit each other. It was, you're the bad guy, you're going to lose.
Okay. Yeah, because I was curious because of, the first time around, him telling him, like, didn't he tell him not to bet on him? Pretty much?
Yes. Because he was saying, I'm the cannon fodder.
Yeah.
I get paid to get my ass kicked.
Right.
Yeah.
Is what it was.
And then he later on told him to bet on him. Told the kid to bet on him.
He told the kid to bet on him.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I'm not gonna tank it now. I'm gonna beat this fucker up. I'm gonna unleash myself.
Right. Yeah. And so that's why I'm like, maybe the point of that, like showing that again, was just to show like his progression and like sort of his like, nope, I'm doing my thing and I'm going to show everybody that I know what I'm doing kind of thing, like more of a character development type of thing,
Yeah, it was.
Well,
I agree with that.
Yeah. And that part, that's all fine and dandy. It's just, you didn't need to have two different characters do the betting. You could have just had the friend do it instead of doing this.
That's fair.
But also, like Jastin said, you don't have to establish him as the wrestler to then reestablish him as the wrestler just for a character in the movie.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Combine those. Yeah. Establish it for the audience and the character at the same time. Like little things like that, I think would have, it smooths it out a little better. You're not repeating information just to be like, here's audience information, here's character information, and repeating the same stuff over and over again. It just flows a little better when you don't, reiterate everything. It's like the weird thing of like the old, since X-Men 97 is kind of a big thing on Disney Plus. If you look at just the original X-Men, the animated series, or even like the old comics and stuff like that, where the characters would say that they're using their power. Like Cyclops is like, I need to use my optic blast. And then it shows him do it. It's like, Storm, use your tornado attack. Tornado attack. It's like, okay, like you don't have to do both. You don't have to say optic blast and do it. Do one or the other. Like just, especially in the comic books or TV show, just do it. Just optic blast. Like, it's the same type of feeling,
Yeah. And you can tell, and I understand why the first act, even though that's the criticism, I could, again, trying to read his mind again, you could tell what was important to him. He wanted to establish everything. He wanted to establish the fighting. He wanted to establish the mom. He wanted you to understand how he developed and cultivated these relationships with these lower people and how then he was able to penetrate, get through, if you will, to the deeper parts of these underground connections and everything like that. He wanted you to understand so intricately what the story was so that you would care about the character that's involved. So you could tell that was important to him. But I just think, like we said, because of inexperience, I think that some of this could have been cut or streamlined, and maybe he just wasn't confident enough because of inexperience. He may have thought that it was so important because, will the audience still get it if I don't have this? And sometimes those are things that you do better with confidence or with experience, you know?
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
I think that's why. And then, like, you know, when you go into the second and third act, I think they move a little better. It moves kind of swimmingly. You know what I mean? Because now he's done with the baggage of establishing everything. And then, you know, the second and third act, things are better. Even though we talked about the scene being late, we reveal what happens to the mob. We get his training. We get some we get some decent scenes there with the training, everything going on with that. And then we have the final confrontation. And to me, all of that moves better. But it's almost like you got to get through that first act to really get to where things move a lot smoother. So it felt like his confidence grew as we got to the latter parts of the film, and he didn't feel responsible for having to explain everything to you. And I think maybe that's why the later acts feel a little more confident, you know.
That's fair to say.
Or at least it felt that way to me. But you know, like, man, I feel like in some sort of way we kind of discussed everything. It kind of, I feel like I'm running out of things I specifically want to talk about. But like, maybe just to talk about a little bit more of the fighting and just what I enjoyed about it. But like you were saying, Sterling, there's nothing like stand out in these fights where you're like, oh man, that maneuver was cool, or oh, the way that people did a certain thing, or that was cool when that person flipped and was able to dodge this person and kick that person at once. There's not really any kind of like interesting choreography about that, but I did like how close and personal it was and just how brutal some of it was. Just the punches and the flying sweat, and then or a character being on the ground. And I think one thing this was good at was like showing you a bunch of tight shots and then moving it back so that you could kind of tell spatially where everybody was and the angles of which things was coming from. That is one compliment I will give him. He was very good at that. Sometimes in fight scenes, they're so all over the place, you don't know where the hell anybody is. Or like when people are being chased, you're like, okay, these cars came from over here. This person came from over here. This person came from over here. Where are all these people? Like, where is this? Where is all of this happening in relation to what I'm seeing? You know, and sometimes it can be hard to tell where we are, where people are coming from, or it just feels very unrealistic. One thing I did like about him was he was very good at that. He would show you all these tight shots and you're seeing all this stuff. Then he'd back up and you'd see, okay, this is where we are. This is the room. This is how big it is. This is where this person was coming from. This is the angle that this henchman was coming from. He was very good about that. And I appreciated all that. As a matter of fact, he even did it with the origin scene with the mom. When she gets killed, because we see a lot of tight shots, but then towards the end, he goes back and then we see how close he was when he was the kid looking down and where he was. We saw kind of, you could see where he was and where he was watching it versus where she was. So he was very good at that kind of stuff. And for this to be his first movie, I think that's quite impressive that he was even aware of all of that, you know. So there was a lot of good continuity in the action set pieces that he shot that I appreciated.
There is some interesting things that they did in this that I'll point out in a little bit. Heather, go ahead and go.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of things that I just wanted to say too is, first of all, I honestly think one of my favorite parts of the whole film was when he started doing the fight training, and, you know, he's like training against the guy who's like doing the music. And I really liked that. I thought like, that's kind of where I feel like it picked back up in some ways for me, you know, because I mean, and everything going on before was good, you know, but it was just like, that's when I'm just like, okay, I'm in it now. Like, I want to see what's about to happen going forward.
It's very Rocky-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And it just, but it was, and it's one of those where like, of course, you know, you got to have that, you know, this is how I'm getting ready for my revenge type thing. But I think they did it in a unique way. You know, it was interesting and it was cool. And it was very like, it was very kind of, I guess in a way I would consider it kind of empowering. You know, you see him doing the work and then like this community that's just like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. And it was really cool to see that moment, and that was really cool. So I really think that was one of the best parts of the film. Because I do feel like one of the like most well done parts also is just the sort of the dynamic that he has with the community that he kind of comes into. And like, I really like the character of Alpha. I think Alpha was a really good character. I actually kind of wish that, you know, they would have been in it more. Like just, and not that, you know, they weren't, but it was just like, man, just tap into Alpha just a tad bit more, because there's the wisdom, there's the like understanding what's happening in this community and like what the surroundings are, and just like all of that. It just could have been good to have a little bit more of Alpha in it. But I do think that Alpha's dynamic with Dev Patel's character is also really good for the little bit of that we get. And I just appreciated the little nuggets of wisdom thrown in there with that character, and just the genuine like wanting to help and wanting to just kind of fight alongside the kid, and all of that was really cool too. I just really appreciated that. Yeah, I just think that those were things that I would say, while I agree with you, Jastin, about some of the things that could have been taken out of the movie, things that could have been focused a little bit more on, that would have been an aspect I would have liked to have seen a little bit more done with. And then another thought that I had, which is just more of a preference thing that I think would have been kind of cool, is if when he's fighting, I think his name was Rana, the police chief guy. I think like it would have been really satisfying if he would have died by fiery death as well. Like if somehow Dev Patel's character sets him on fire the way that he did his mom. I think that would have been a really cool full circle moment, and it would have been really satisfying to see that happen. So that's just sort of a preference thing. Not that it took away how they did it here, because something I really liked about that in sequence and, you know, how that goes down is just the passion in which Dev Patel's character is fighting and punching and all of that. Like he's just, you see all of his rage and all of his anger and all of his emotion getting into the just extreme punches and the extreme fighting that he's doing. And I thought that was really well done. But yeah, just like, I just think that, man, that would have been so satisfying to just be like, well, you're about to burn the way that you burned my mom. Like that just seems like that would have been a cool way to do something, you know? But yeah, I think because it is just one of those stories that's very straightforward, pretty much. Like we said, like, yeah, there's a few extra things mixed in, or like cultural things or things like that mixed in. I do feel like the thing that I like about this movie, the thing I like about the John Wick movies, all of that is it's just like, you could take a simple revenge movie or story and you could do some cool stuff with it. You just have to do it the right way. And I think John Wick proves that. I think this movie proves that. You know, it's just like and I want to say another movie that kind of is in the similar vein is that movie Nobody. It wasn't really revenge though, right? It was just more of like,
no, they stole his daughter's bracelet.
That's true. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It wasn't a death. It was just that. Yeah. But still, it was a revenge. So yeah, like and the same thing there. A simple story, simple premise, all of that done really well to where you're invested with these characters. You're invested in what's going to happen in this story. So, and I just appreciate that because it shows that you can make action movies that have great action and a good story, but it doesn't need to be overly complicated. You don't need all of the twists and turns. You don't need like just like this plot twist you didn't see coming, and you don't need all of you can have it be just real. And those happen to be some of the better action movies of the past few years. So I think people could take a note from that. So yeah, those were just a couple of things that I wanted to add as far as preference and things like that. But I mean, yeah, overall, I just really, I don't know. I'm glad, I guess, that Dev Patel is getting a lot of good feedback on this movie, because the amount of work and the amount of heart that he put into this movie is really impressive and really admirable. And it's just really nice to see that pay off with everything that he did. And the fact that not only is he like, I wanted to tell the story of, my culture, he also, again, really cared about the representation that he was showing. And having all of those things really pay off is like really encouraging to see, because it makes me feel like, cool, we can get more of this from him. We can hopefully get more of this from other people making movies. And yeah, why are we not already? I don't know, but it's nice to know that those things that he really cared to put a lot of effort into are things that people care about too. And that's why I think this movie is getting a lot of really good feedback.
One thing to get into with this is, so there's a particular fight sequence, or chase sequence, fight sequence, however you want to word it, where he's going down a stairwell and it goes into first person for a little bit for part of that fight. And part of it is really actually kind of ingenious, because he does that because they couldn't fit the camera and somebody fighting in that stairwell. They couldn't have the actors and the camera and the equipment and everything in there.
That's
so
smart.
They did shift to the first person point of view just to actually make the scene work, because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to fit everything.
That's cool. See, necessity is the mother of invention.
That is cool.
Sometimes that is cool, because it looked cool to me. I was like, oh, that's interesting how they shot that. They were forced to, huh? Okay.
Also, I almost forgot to mention wasn't there like a random just passerby that got just hit in the neck with that axe or something? Like, he was just,
yes, when he's when he's in that one place that guy's trying to hit him with the axe, and he just hits that
poor
other
guy.
Yes.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
That was
cool,
funny,
too.
but cool. Yeah.
But also, like, I just want to point out that earlier we used Heather as the example of non-desensitized monster / normie person. And then she's like, I wish that guy burned like the mom did.
I'm just saying, for the purpose of a revenge story, I understand why that would be satisfactory.
What in the sociopathic hell is happening?
Oh, no. I mean,
Well, burning's a good way to go. It's memorable. You know what
Is
I mean?
it a good way to go, though? I don't want to go that way.
Well, relative to, not good as in it feels good. I don't imagine it feels good, but I mean good like, oh man, I remember that one.
it's a pretty effective way to go, I would say.
Yeah, it's memorable. You remember of somebody who died, more than you would somebody who just died.
I just feel
I don't
like
know what I just said.
I feel like just something that is one of the best parts about revenge movies is the satisfaction of when they get the person they want to get, and like just how it plays out. And that's why I'm just like, man, like just that it would have been such a cool full circle moment to be like, cool, you're about to burn to my friend. But yes, that's the only reason. Okay. I am still not desensitized.
I don't think you helped yourself as much as you think you did when you followed that up with saying like, oh, you're still going to burn my friend. Like,
yeah. You want to hear that man screaming in agony? Oh,
I didn't say
that. What Heather? What was he going to do? He wasn't going to stand there and just be chilling, burning.
I'm just saying I understand how to write a revenge story. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying you might be as mentally fucked as we are.
Oh boy. I mean, I am the one that we said is like very about torture, right? Is that what the thing was for a minute?
You are
I love torture. That's what it was. Pro torture.
I mean, you're the one that said it. And you kind of just reconfirmed it.
I really shouldn't have just set myself up like that. I don't know why I did that, but I'm just saying.
You kind of set yourself up because
hey, you got to express your truth. You wanted that man to burn. You want him to burn. It's all good. I'm happy with it. I'm not throwing any shade at you. I'm glad
just
you
own
want
it.
him to burn.
Just own what you want. Yeah.
Yes, you got to in this life. You got to.
I don't know if you should be owning wanting people to get tortured. Just saying.
He's fictional. It's all good when it's fictional. You
It's
can want somebody to get burned.
Still kind of scary.
It's a fictional.
It's
It's
still
a
kind of
fictional
scary.
burn. It's a fictional burn.
I don't care. It's
Yeah.
still a little creepy.
I mean, she's not being like, I want somebody to burn Chad Michael Murray. It's not a real person. It's a fictional man.
Oh no, look at those eyes. I think she wants the actor and character to both burn.
Come on, Heather. Please tell me.
I'm not gonna lie.
You
I
don't
thought
want to
you
see
were-
Michael M. to burn.
I actually just thought Sterling was going to say Chad Michael Murray is not a real person. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Why would I say that about C.M. Murray?
Yeah, you're right.
He knows all about C. Michael M.
Why would you possibly posit anything about Chad Michael M?
It's the eyes, man. It's in the eyes.
She doesn't realize the inside joke that just happened.
No, I do. I think I remember you guys telling me about it. Just
Oh,
saying his
did
name
we
different
tell
every
you
time.
about this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got to do that.
It's not my inside joke, so I wasn't going to contribute because it's more fun to watch you guys do it.
Uh-huh. Anyway.
I would have popped if you did, though.
Do you guys have anything else to say about Monkey Man, though?
I think I'm good.
Nah. I'm good.
On that note, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Check us out on the internet at www.cinemaslayers.com. We are Cinema Slayers pod cast on Facebook. We are cinema_slayers on Instagram, on Threads, on Letterboxd. We are at Cinema Slayers pod on TikTok and YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating and review. We'd really appreciate it. Really help us out. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your friends' family, tell your family's friends, and most of all, tell those dear sweet mothers, because dear sweet mothers love
Dev Patel, man. Dev Patel.
That's
And his
fair.
hair. He's got good hair.
That's a little weird to say on this podcast with two bald men.
I'm not saying you guys wouldn't have good hair. I'm just saying he has good hair.
I think by definition, I can't have good hair.
I see. I mean, you've got good facial hair. And that's what really counts.
Except for the fact that I can't really grow hair on my head. So
You don't need to if you've got a good facial hair situation.
yeah, spoken like somebody with a bunch of hair on their head. Just saying. Shout out to Plug Migo and Mundo Cho for our theme song and logos respectively. Tell your we here at the Cineslayers podcast are Pro Slut, Pro Sydney, Pro Naked. You, yes, you Cinefans, you are Knuff. Justice for Chris. And who is it? Tom? Was it Justice for Tom?
Yes.
Yes, Justice for Tom.
Yes.
The guy that was trying to tell everybody all the dumb shit.
Todd.
Was it Todd?
Yeah.
Todd.
Justice
Yes, my
for
bad. Todd. Yes.
Yes.
Todd.
The guy that was trying to get them to not fuck up Kong X Godzilla, but nobody wanted to listen to dear old Todd. And so, also, just so everybody knows, I did look this up before we recorded. Kissinger's still dead.
Excellent. Yes.
So, hey, I get one more week off of not having to fight a lich. So, good to know. And as I always end this podcast, these YouTube videos, and the TikToks, just remember, according to Jastin, Moon Knight is the Best Picture winner.
Would you let Heather burn Kissinger?
Somebody will listen to me.
I might be okay with that.
Anything but you.
That's an acceptable thing, yes. Because that would be satisfactory, yes.
Yes.
I mean, I don't necessarily believe in hell. But if I were to, if Henry Kissinger was there, I'd be okay with that. Just saying. And if Heather wanted him to experience what hell would be like whilst he was still alive, and she lit him on fire, I wouldn't be opposed to that either, per se.
Got it. Say no more.
I think Heather just agreed she's going to go back in time and light Henry Kissinger on fire.
I'll just be ready if we ever need that going forward.
Well, I
Child
don't know.
Heather would totally
if you ever
burn
check-
Kissinger.
And he's not dead still,
Oh, no. I mean, a lich. Ooh. Liches they're pretty good against fire, just saying. You would think they wouldn't be, but they are. So.
I think Child Heather would totally burn Kissinger. Child Heather's cool.
Child
You're cool
Heather,
too,
I guess.
Heather. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Child Heather.
But
Child Heather seems like she's a lot cooler and just more confident than me as far as like
Sorry.
she
Your murder skills.
yeah, as far as like
Yeah.
young me would have had just no qualms with the fire and the burning, but I'm just kind of like maybe somebody can do it and it's fine. Like
I'm sorry I've created this narrative where
child me has just a whole
Child
different
Me was
life.
cooler than you.
Yeah.
I gave her this whole life. Oh man.
Except, is Child Heather cooler? Because Child Heather ate Burger King. So.
Everyone can decide for themselves
It's all
if
up in
that's
the air.
cooler or not.
Just the nugget Frenchies. What are they called?
Nugget
The nougat.
Frenchies? No, that's what they're called.
Okay.
So just make sure when you go to Burger King, order some Nugget Frenchies.
Okay.
They'll know. They'll know exactly what it is.
I just haven't looked at the menu in a while, Sterling. You'll have to forgive me.
No.
You've driven by, but you
You
haven't looked at the
nailed it,
menu, though.
Justin. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's probably where you saw it, up on the billboard, on the sign. They're like, hey, get a 10-pack of Nuggy Frenchies. Our world famous Nuggy Frenchies.
It sounds a little delectable. It sounds weird, but
Nah, Jess, I don't know what you're talking about. They are Nuggy Frenchies.
well, Child Heather had them and she liked them, and she had them with Tabasco
Yeah.
sauce. I remember everything you guys tell me.
It wasn't like normal Tabasco though. It was that Connecticut Tabasco. Yeah, Nuggy Frenchies and that Connecticut Tabasco.
Oh man.
All right, guys, I'm out.